Hey guys, so I am here today because I want to do part 3 of my heirloom highlight series. This is a series that I'm doing on my YouTube channel where I talk about specifically heirloom vegetable varieties and why they're so great, and I just gush about them. So this particular episode is going to be about a kale called Scarlet Kale. Scarlet Kale is a widely available, I think, kale variety. I got mine at Baker Creek. I've also in the past purchased them from Seed Savers Exchange online. So the first thing that I want to dive into is its appearance. As the name implies, Scarlet Kale is purple. And I'm not talking like purple veining or slight purple tint. Guys, it's purple. If you're like me and you for most of your life purchase all of your vegetables and leafy greens at the grocery store, I didn't know that kale could be purple. I didn't know that carrots could be purple. I didn't know that Brussels sprouts could be purple. So for me, it's really fun to grow things, and specifically heirloom varieties that bring something a little different to the garden. So it's beautiful because of its color, but it's also beautiful because of just the texture that it brings to the garden and your plate, like your dinner plate when you eat your food. So it's a curly leaf variety. It has really frilly leaves that looks so beautiful out in the garden. This kale wants to get about 24 to 36 inches tall and about 24 inches wide. Of course, I never follow these spacing guidelines on seed packets. So I wouldn't know what it's like to actually follow the instructions on this particular variety, and it's done well. So the next thing I want to talk about, probably more important than what it looks like, right, is its production and its performance in the garden. So the thing that struck me when I was looking at this particular variety online is that all the websites kept saying it's very cold tolerant, it's beautiful, it survives the winter, it's even tastier. And now all kale is cold tolerant, right? They like the cold, that's just what kale does. But this particular variety, I have a few different varieties going in my veggie pod right now, and this particular variety is probably doing the best. Now, all of the kale is doing good in the veggie pod. And if you don't know what a veggie pod is, I will link a video where I talk about what it is really quick. It's a raised bed on legs that comes with a canopy, and on the underside of the canopy there's like an irrigation system, and on the bottom of the raised bed there's a water reservoir that functions as like a wicking system to bottom water your vegetables. You fill it with potting soil, and you can also purchase an optional winter cover that creates like a little mini greenhouse. So I have a lot of stuff going on in my garden still, and it's great. And I have been able to sort of see the performance of different varieties of kale specifically in that particular space. And I can tell you that of all the kale that I have going, they're all surviving and they're all doing well. But this particular kale actually puts on a little bit more growth in the winter than the other varieties. So what sometimes happens with leafy greens or anything else that's cold tolerant, they are cold tolerant to a point, but what will happen when it starts to get really, really cold out is that they will sort of freeze in time, meaning that they will survive and they will look healthy and they will taste delicious, but they won't necessarily be putting on a lot of growth. They're sort of frozen in time and they'll survive, and they'll probably go ahead and continue to put on growth when it gets a little bit warmer in early spring. But this variety, if we have a warm day or a couple of even slightly warmer days, like you're gonna see growth on this Scarlet Kale. So I really like it for that reason, because I didn't plan my winter garden that great this year, and it's something I'm gonna work on for the fall this coming year, but I don't have a lot of this particular kale planted this year. And so it's nice to be able to cut on it, and then know that it's gonna, leaf out more growth in the winter time. I will plan better and have more plants in there for this coming winter. For this reason, I'm gonna pick this particular kale because I know it'll put on growth even in the winter. I use it a lot in stews, soups, stir fries. It tastes delicious. I can harvest it fresh. With this particular variety, and this year I had a lot of cilantro that's actually still going in my veggie pod. And I have a lot of basil that I grew in the veggie pod, and I didn't want to let them go to waste, but I had to pull those plants at a certain point. Well, not the cilantro, but the basil I did, because it was getting cold out. And I just froze it, guys. Some of it I froze basil in oil, some of it I froze as a pesto, and then the cilantro I just did with some onion and oil and the cilantro, and I froze it in silicone ice cube trays, and I did a video on it, quick little cute video on my YouTube about it. And so I stir fry this scarlet kale with either the cilantro or the basil and stew, soup, stir fry, stuff like that. It tastes really, really good. Not only that, but it's actually considered a superfood. So I want to read the description on the Baker Creek, in the Baker Creek catalog. Look at this, guys. Isn't that pretty? Look, snow on it. Yeah. So the description says, a lovely curled red kale that produces lots of delicious frilly leaves and takes on the chill of winter with stride. Pretty in the flower garden or on a plate. I haven't tried it in the flower garden, but I would see why they would say that. Rich in nutrition and flavor, it has almost as much vitamin C as oranges, the most of any kale we tested in 2020. A true superfood that is so pretty. And I can vouch for the statements in this catalog. It really is delicious, it really is pretty, and it really is cold tolerant. So I have some going in there in the veggie pod, but I might start fresh. I might pull some of those just to start fresh this year, and then direct sow them in a sort of modified winter sowing method directly inside the veggie pod to save space inside the house. Since these are so cold tolerant and I have the winter cover, it can help and assist in germination of the kale, I'm hoping, in very late winter or early spring, very early spring. And so I'll keep you guys updated on the channel about this particular variety. I hope you guys enjoyed this video, and I will see you next time. Bye.